we're in this series called I Wish Someone Would Have Told Me. And this series is all about, I wish someone would have told me in high school. One, that my fits were trash, but that's besides the point, right? I wish someone would have told me in high school all sorts of things, but I'm going to be speaking this week. We're going to have Pastor Rick, the head pastor of the Brea campus. He's going to be preaching either next week or the week after. We're going to have Pastor Jeff also bringing the word too. So you guys get to learn, for someone who's more experienced, especially more experienced than me, like, hey, what is something that they wish someone would have told them in high school, and what is something they wish they would have improved on? So, real quick, I'm not going to have the picture on the screen just yet, but this is a picture of me from my junior year of high school, and you can go ahead and put the picture on the screen. I was 17 years old. Yeah, we're going to hear some laughs. We're going to hear some, that'll probably be on everybody's meme. You're going to spam it in the GIFs in the comment section, whatever. But yeah, guys, that was 17 years old at that time. I now see why my coach said you're never playing a snap, right? I see the vision. He was actually protecting me, right? I wasn't, so that's so rough. Anyway, so that was a picture of me in high school, and so we're in this series, and tonight I want to tell that dude right there that I wish someone would have told him that it doesn't get easier. Maybe that's not the word you're looking for tonight. Maybe that's not what you were expecting when you came to church. Maybe you expected something more hopeful, more happy, more joyful. But the reality is that it doesn't get easier. You see, I feel like for me, the stigma is when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to going to church, the stigma is that, hey, once you start following Jesus, your life should be super comfortable. Your life should be easygoing. Hey, you're going to be going to church, right? Just sit there, just enjoy it. It's going to be amazing because you have the God of the universe on your side, which is true. But it doesn't mean it gets easier. And so looking back on my life, I used to play football, as you can tell from the picture, even though I didn't really play, right? But I remember this one time, every single week during practice, right, even during the season, once a week, we would have full-on hitting days, right? You got to strap up, get all the pads on, and you're going full-on tackling to the ground. That's why I started hating Tuesdays. Now I kind of like Tuesdays, but back then I hated Tuesdays because I was that skinny little dude getting blown up by every single person on the team, including guys that were younger than me. So I didn't really like to talk about that. So I was a linebacker. If you don't know what football is, or you don't, play football or watch football, linebackers are on the defense, and you have we have the defensive line. And they're trying to stop the guys with the ball, the running back or the quarterback. And then you also have the guys that basically they back them. They're the linebackers. They're right behind the defensive line, and their goal is either to sack the quarterback, the guy throwing the ball, or to stop a guy from getting past them, right? They don't want anybody getting past them. They're trying to make all the hard hits, or they'll guard receivers too, the ones that are trying to catch the ball, right? And so I played linebacker, and we had every single Tuesday, we would have what's called NDD, so individual defense. You go and work with your special, positions coach. And so everybody that plays that position would go and work with the coach that, coaches the linebackers, right? And so I'm there, and I hated this drill that we did. We would have 3 cones. You'd have here, here, and here. There'd be 2 lines, right? The first line would have, everybody would have a ball, right? There's one person the ball. They have to pick which gap they want to go in. So they're shuffling their feet, and they pick which gap they want to run straight through, right? Your job as the linebacker, because it stimulates what happens in a real game, your job is to pick the gap that they go into and meet them head on the middle and try and make the tackle, right? I hated that drill so much because I lost every single freaking time. I hated that drill, right? And so first time, I'm in this drill, right? I'm looking around. I always like to see who I'm going to be going against, judging the line. Okay, hey, you get in front of me. Okay, I don't want to go against that guy. I'm going to get right here, right? This time, the freshman didn't want to go in front of me, okay, because he didn't want to go against our varsity starting running back. So I had to go against him. His name was Braden Dietz, and, yeah, he was just a massive guy, and I didn't like going against him. And so, sure enough, he gets the ball, and he's starting to shuffle his feet. And I'm like, okay, the only way I can even, remotely get close to taking this dude down is if I do what's called a shoestring tackle, where I just take my shoulder and put it in his foot and hope for the best, right? I'm just going to dive straight at his ankle, right? And that's what I did. So he picked a gap. He shuffled his feet, and he chose the gap up the middle. I met him head on, and guess what? Do you guys think I made the tackle, yes or no? All right, y'all are wrong, because I did make the tackle. He fell down 5 yards after, okay? I hit him in the foot, and he kind of tumbled away, okay? So I did make the tackle. I was so hyped. The rest of that week, I was talking so much trash to him. I was like, hey, bro, I'm coming for your spot. I did trip him, but I still got him, right? I was talking so much trash to him. I was like, dude, I'm coming for your spot. I got you, right? That spot is mine. I just tackled you, man. What's up? So the next Tuesday comes along. And a week of trash talking this guy who's 100 pounds lighter than him, he didn't really like that. But my stupid self was like, you know what? I'm feeling confident today. I called him out. We go to that drill, and I'm like, yo, coach, I want Braden Dietz. I'm the first guy up for this drill. I'm like, I want Braden Dietz again. And sure enough, he starts laughing. But the thing is, I saw something different in his eyes this time. Like, it wasn't just a casual, like, I'm going to murder this kid, right? And so I'm like, all right, whatever, right? So I go through the gap. He picks a lane. I kind of like arm tackle him, so I stick my arm at him. Like, I'm just going to try and clothesline him or something. He runs his freight train self just straight through my arm. And it literally, like, snaps my arm back. My shoulder gets popped out of socket. So, like, my shoulder's, like, hanging down to where my bicep is. And I'm just like, oh, like I'm like hunched over like this. I'm like, trainer. I'm running over to our trainer. Like, it looked disgusting. It hurt so bad. In that process, I actually tore my labrum, which is fantastic, right? And you actually don't need, surgery right after that. You can keep playing. It's just going to be a butt because your shoulder's going to keep popping in and out of socket. So the rest of the season, every time I made a tackle or got hit, whatever, my shoulder would literally pop out of socket. I had to put it back in. It was so painful. I wanted to quit like so many times. I wanted to give up so many times. I was done with it. I'm like, I'm not playing anyway. I just keep getting hurt. Senior year comes, I tear the labrum again. I'm just like, man, like I had surgery once. I tear it again. I'm like, I'm just kind of done with this. Like, I don't want to keep doing this. And I decided, somehow I was like, you know what? I started football. I'm going to finish it. At least my senior year, I'm going to finish it. And I finished strong. And what's crazy is the most incredible thing happened. I actually got 3 of my friends that I was praying for to actually come to my youth ministry. I was praying for these guys all year long. I was like, God, please, I just want somebody to come to my youth ministry. I want somebody to come to my youth group because we don't have anybody from the school coming to our church. I just want somebody to come to our church from this. And because I stuck it out, because I kept playing football, because I kept getting hurt, all these sort of things, and kept talking to these guys, eventually they came. And 2 younger brothers later, they are now involved in the school. This isn't my second brother. He actually graduated last year. But it is just like crazy how much God has worked in that school, Waynesville. Our church has worked at that school because now majority of our youth ministry students are from that school. Because my brother started bringing people, and now my youngest brother brings people. And we are so involved at school that my dad, he'll go, because he used to be a police officer before he's a pastor. He'll go and tell cop stories to the team. He just recently started a Bible study, like the days they weight train in the gym. He gets to do a Bible study with them before. Like, our church is just so involved with that school system, and it's so amazing. And not to, like, build myself up, not to, make a whole drama about tearing a labrum, right? But if I would have quit before those guys came to our youth group, if I would have quit before any of that stuff happened, I don't know where our church would be at with that school. The countless lives that have turned back towards Jesus now have a home in heaven someday. I don't know where they would be at. Because I decided I was going to keep playing and keep talking to these guys about Jesus. Even though it was hard, even though it was a struggle, I was like, man, like I'm going to keep talking to these guys. And so the reality is that God still worked even in the midst of the struggle. And the payoff actually came later. See, I wish somebody would have told me that it doesn't get easier. Because now, as an adult, I wish I had those problems I had in high school. I wish that all I had to deal with was a busted shoulder and not being able to play on Friday nights. I wish that was the extent of my problems. Because the reality is life hits you hard. Life continues to get harder and harder. And yes, we have a God that lives in us, that loves each and every single one of you so much. And he does live in you, and he does help guide you and comfort you and love you. But it doesn't mean the world gets easier. It doesn't mean your problems go away. So tonight we're going to be looking at a guy in the Bible. He's one of my favorite dudes in the entire Bible. His name is Joshua. How many people have heard of Joshua before? Raise your hands. Let me see. Okay. We got a lot, right? So Joshua was just like, I call him like a man's man, right? He was a spy. He was a warrior. He led many battles, right? He was this awesome dude. And so the backstory of Joshua, it actually happens when Moses led the Israelites out of captivity in Egypt, like the 10 plagues that God sent, all that kind of stuff. They're wandering around in the desert. And unfortunately, Moses committed a great sin. He actually disobeyed God while he was leading these people. And God told him, hey, Moses, like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to inherit the promised land. Like, you're not going to be able to see with your eyes the land that I promised all these people that you're leading. The entire purpose of you leading, it's gone. I'm sorry, Moses, right? Moses remained faithful, though. He kept leading his people, but unfortunately, he died in the wilderness. And his right-hand man, Joshua, now is in this new position. And so we can actually pull 3 different points from the story of Joshua. We're going to do that tonight. 3 different points. Point number 1 is following Jesus does not mean that life gets easier. Everybody turn to Joshua chapter 1, verse 1. We're going to start right in verse 1, beginning of the book. Joshua chapter 1. Let me give you guys a second to get here. And it says, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, and he said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land that I am giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land that I have given you. It says actually, we can skip this verse. Drop down to verse 10, please. Is that in there? There we go, right there. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not let you fall or abandon you. Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and very courageous. There it is again. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of the instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night so you will be sure to obey everything written on it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all that you do. In the last verse, it says, this is my command. One more time. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And what's crazy is the amount of times God says, hey, be strong and courageous. It's like 3 or 4 times. And actually, it's also in the book of Deuteronomy. And it also continues throughout the book of Joshua. The same idea of, hey, be strong and be courageous. You know why he had to say that? Because 1, it wasn't about Joshua. It was about the people he was leading. Number 2, because God knew it would get harder for Joshua. He knew it would not get easier for him. He's like, hey, you're stepping up in this new position of leadership. That's amazing, Joshua. Hey, you have earned it, but guess what? It only gets harder from here. You think you've had it bad, it's going to get harder. You see, so now go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 12. It says, and yes, and everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. So that's Paul talking to Timothy, and he tells Timothy, who's going to be a young pastor, who's a guy who's going into ministry, and he tells Timothy, he's like, hey, like, you want to be a pastor? You're this young leader? That's awesome. But you're going to suffer for it, man. You're going to go through some trials. People are going to try and attack you personally. They're going to attack you. They're going to attack all your ministry, all this sort of things. They're going to come after you, man. That's why he says, be strong and courageous. That's why Paul warns Timothy about. Again, Joshua was told to be strong and courageous because it was going to be hard, not because it was going to be easy. So point number 2. Point number 2 says, if you stay strong and follow the Lord through it all, people will follow. If you stay strong and follow the Lord through it all, people will follow. Go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 16 now. Joshua chapter 1, verse 16, maybe a few pages over. It says, they answered Joshua, we will do whatever you command us, and we will go wherever you send us. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses. And may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. So in that little context right there, Joshua is like, hey, you know, God told me we got to get this battle, right? They're winning some battles. They're getting some confidence back. And God's like, hey, go this next battle, right? And Joshua's rallying his troops together. He's like, okay, this is what we got to do. It's going to be hard. God told me to be strong and courageous. This is what we have to do. And he tells people, hey, get ready. And what's so amazing that these people say, hey, wherever you go, we're going to follow. Wherever you go, we're going to follow. You see, everybody wants a following. Maybe you guys in here, you want to start a business someday. Maybe you guys want to climb up the corporate ladder or be that kind of doctor or whatever. Maybe some of you guys want to go into ministry. Maybe some of you guys want to start a church or be involved in a church. You want a following. You want people to follow you. You want people to respect you. You have to follow the Lord through it all because you know it's not going to get easy. It's going to get harder. And people are going to be looking at you, especially if you're the one in charge, especially if you have some level of influence over people and you have some level of leadership over them. They're going to be looking at you. They're like, I want to see what he does. I want to see how she reacts to this. I want to see what happens. If you stay with the Lord through it all, through the thick and thin, through all the struggles and hardships, people will take notice. And more importantly for us as believers in Jesus, as followers of Jesus in this room, lost people will take notice if you stay the course. People who have no relationship with Jesus, people who have never stepped foot in a church before, they're going to take notice. They're going to be like, wow, like he's going through that hardship right now. He's going through that struggle. and he's still joyful for some reason. She's still being positive about something. I want what they have. I want that truth. I want that joy that they have. I can't wrap my mind around. Lost people will take notice if you stay with the Lord through all the hardships. That's the biggest thing. You can know all the theology in the world. You can know the Bible front to back. But if you're giving up easy when times get rough and people see that, doesn't mean anything, man. So the last point I want to hit on, the last point says point number 3, everything you do won't always be a success. God uses failure to teach us things we wouldn't have learned through a victory. You can keep that point on the screen for just a second. Everything you do won't always be a success. God uses failure to teach us things we wouldn't have learned through a victory. Every turn to Joshua chapter 7. Joshua chapter 7, verse 5. And basically what happens in this little context, they're doing some battles, they're doing some wars, and it's not really going so well. And you can actually skip down to verse 10, please. Go to verse 10. So basically they're in the battle, and what happens is they actually start losing the battle. They're supposed to be doing this war, and they lose a lot of soldiers. They lose a lot of men. They don't know where to turn. Joshua is so upset that he falls on his face and just God, why are you doing this? You told me, God, that I was supposed to lead these people to this victory. You told me to be strong and courageous. I'm being strong and courageous, and I'm still not getting the victory. I still didn't have the success. God, what are you doing? And look what God says back to Joshua in verse 10. This is what the Lord said to Joshua, get up. Israel has sinned and broken my covenant. They have stolen some of the things that I have commanded must be set apart for me. And they have not only stolen them, but they have lied about it and hidden the things among their own belongings. See, that's crazy, because what happens is that these guys, they were actually stealing things. See, God told them, hey, when you go and conquer these cities, when you go and win these battles, don't take anything. Leave it all, right? Don't steal anything. Don't take anything for yourselves, right? Don't be greedy. Hey, we're just going to win the battle, get in, get out, right? And some of these guys were being super greedy to the point they were pocketing some things for themselves. They were doing exactly what God told them not to do. And Joshua didn't know. They were secretly hiding that from Joshua. They were hey, he's not going to find out. He's not going to notice. I'm going to do this, right? And that's the insane part. But you know what's crazy about that? Is that Joshua only learned that the people around him were in sin because of the failure. You see, if he kept winning the battles, if he kept having success on the battlefield, and he kept doing all these amazing things from God and just got victory after victory, he would have never known the people of Israel were in such deep sin. He wouldn't have known. It took an entire, big, embarrassing failure for Joshua to realize some things that have to change. For Joshua to be man, I didn't know that was the case. See, what we can pull from that is, hey, when you go throughout your life, when you go through the struggles and the hardships, yes, you may not succeed all the time. You may not do exactly what you thought God was calling you to do. It may not look exactly how you thought it would. You may go through life and think, hey, this is where God's leading me. I'm going to do this, and boom, the door closes in your face. And you're what? What? This is what I was called to do. This is what I thought God was leading me to do. And now you're saying, now I just failed? I didn't succeed? What? Maybe it's because God is trying to show you something in your life that he needed to show you. He needed to get your attention with the failure because you would never have noticed. A lot of times with victory, we think about ourselves. We're hey, this is an amazing victory. I did this. Let's go. Hey, on to the next thing. And we miss the entire point of it, that we're doing it for God's glory. The failure, the setback, it's all part of growth. It's all part of moving forward and realizing that it doesn't get easier. The struggle continues. The struggle is there, but God is with us in the midst of that, and he helps us. Even when we fail, he corrects us, and he shows us things that we need to see, that we need to grow in, right? Because your walk with Jesus, it's all about growth. It's all about taking that next step. You see, God wants you to grow, but that takes you getting out of your comfort zone. What's more uncomfortable than failing? What's more uncomfortable than not succeeding in an area that you thought was an easy W, right? God's trying to pull you out of your comfort zone so he can grow you. If you only do what you can do, you'll never be anything more than you are right now. That's a bar from Master Shifu in Kung Fu Panda, if you didn't know. But the reality is that the point's the same, is that we're going to keep doing exactly what we know we can do before God. We're going to stick with the things that we think that we're pretty good at, and we're never going to try and branch out and do some mighty things for God that take God himself to accomplish them because we're too scared. And then guess what happens? You miss all that God could do through you because you're so comfortable. And you're so like, hey, well, this is easy right now. I don't want it to get harder like you're saying it is, Johnathan. I want it to stay easy and comfortable right now. And you miss everything that God could be doing through you. So yes, what I would have told my high school self is, hey, like, dude, it's gonna get harder. Like the struggles you think right now, multiply them by times 10, right? And for many of you, again, that's probably not the hope you wanted. But the hope comes from that Jesus wins in the end. And he has overcome the world, like he says. That he is right there with you in the midst of the struggle.